Good afternoon and welcome back to the final hour of Newsmax Now.
It's good to have everybody with us on this Memorial Day. A lot of Americans out there remembering with respect men and women who served and sacrificed so much in our armed services. We'll have more on the Memorial Day activities in Washington, D.C. and throughout the world coming up. We start this hour with an update on those two U.S. fighter jets that escorted an Air France plane to safety at JFK Airport. This is after an anonymous threat was made against that flight. According to ABC News, Flight 22 arrived safely at JFK Airport in New York, where it was moved to a secure location for a thorough search. The FBI is now handling that investigation into that threat and says an anonymous caller claimed there was a chemical weapon aboard that flight. There are also reports of another threat against a Saudi Arabian airline. Again, the FBI investigating. We'll update you.
The bomb squad detonated a pressure cooker found inside a parked car near the National Mall, not far from the Capitol building as well. The vehicle was spotted during a patrol yesterday afternoon prior to the concert. Investigators later said there was nothing hazardous inside. President Obama spoke during services at Arlington National Cemetery today. The commander-in-chief says the site is more than just a final resting place for our heroes.
It is a reflection of America itself. It's a reflection of our history, the wars we've waged for democracy.
Earlier today, President Obama laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. There was also a wreath-laying ceremony at the World War II Memorial today. Some 24 World War II vets participated in this event. Songwriter Bob Reagan also honored the 400,000 Americans who lost their lives during that war. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders warns that he shouldn't be cast aside as a serious contender in 2016.
I think we have a message that resonates. It resonates in Vermont. I think it's going to resonate all over this country. Don't underestimate me.
And Senator Sanders insists he will not receive funding from a super PAC.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has now declared a state of emergency, and Texans are bracing for another round of storms today. Officials there say they continue to search now for at least 12 people who remain missing. This after a series of deadly storms that have continued to pound that region.
We have impending weather concerns. We're expecting a substantial amount of rain later today.
Well, several cities in Texas are claiming that May has been the wettest record ever on record. Meanwhile, a tornado touches down in a Mexican city today with borders Texas. Take a look at this. This deadly twister tossed cars through the air, destroyed homes along the U.S.-Mexico border. Rescue workers are still sifting through the debris. Officials say at least 11 people are now dead there.
Wow. In California, protesters have hit the beach in Santa Barbara. They're rallying after a nearby oil pipe break spilled roughly 105,000 gallons of crude oil onto a local beach and into the ocean. The spill left a slick on the water about 9 miles long. Cleveland is relatively calm after a weekend of protests. People took to the streets after a white police officer was found not guilty in the shooting death of 2 unarmed black men. Police say in all, 71 people were arrested during those protests. The charges ranged from aggravated rioting to obstruction of justice. The protest started Saturday after Officer Michael Brillo was found not guilty. He was one of several officers who fired at a car following a chase back in 2012.
And Charter Communications may be closing in on a $55 billion deal to buy Time Warner Cable. Sources say the announcement could come as soon as tomorrow. This after just 1 month after Comcast pulled the plug on a $45 billion merger with Time Warner. If the deal is approved, the company will have 23 million cable subscribers, which is only about 4 million less than Comcast currently has. Well, on Friday, I believe it was, I saw a tweet from the Democrats' official Twitter handle, a picture of President Obama eating an ice cream cone, saying, "This is what Memorial Day weekend is all about." And I knew that was going to spark some controversy, and moments after that, CNN's Jake Tapper criticized the people who run that Twitter feed. He slammed them for this tweet right here, and there you see it. I think we have Jake Tapper's speech. Respectfully, at the Democrats, this is not what Memorial Day weekend is all about. Tapper has a history of supporting veterans and our armed services. He also said, you know, these these holidays, as it were, are about remembering the sacrifices made by those who did serve.
Right, and
Not about
celebrating
eating ice cream.
Right, and celebrating our freedoms, as we've heard from some of the vets today, that it's okay to do a barbecue and to do that and to celebrate the freedoms that we have now thanks to those sacrifices made, but let's not lose sight of that.
Right. At the 3 o'clock hour around the country, a lot of folks pausing for a moment of silence. And also earlier here on Newsmax Now, we heard Ron Capps, the director of the Veterans Writing Project, talking about a moment of silence at noon o'clock Eastern Time on Memorial Day as well. But back to that tweet with Jake Tapper.
Right.
Not the only one who was up in arms about the Democrats' tweet, and this is the top story on Newsmax.com right now. You can see here is some of the reaction from folks responding to that Democratic tweet. Irritated woman writing to them, seriously? Question mark, a simple response. Another man writing, Nick Foster writing in, the Democrats, this is why the majority of veterans hate you.
Wow. Ron Moss says the tweet was an, quote, utterly clueless post. And Joe Dreiler replied to the Democrats. He tweeted this, can't wait to see your Veterans Day picture of Obama raking leaves.
And
Ouch.
another woman writes in, Maggie Cook, who is a self-described Republican. She said, what exactly is happy about tending to graves and remembering family members' sacrifices? You don't have any idea, do you?
But maybe the people behind the Democrats' Twitter handle managed to redeem themselves, at least maybe just a little bit, with this patriotic post. It says, whenever the world makes you cynical, whenever you doubt that courage and goodness is possible, stop and think about these men.
There's a prevailing
You might want
thought.
to mention the women in there too. Sorry, I'm going to be a little critical there.
There's a prevailing thought, I think, at least from the folks that I know who either served in the military, not all of them, but the majority of the folks that I know who served in the military do not feel like this commander-in-chief has done a very good job of articulating the interests of the military. Some go as far as to say that he is intentionally curtailing their efforts by not supporting them. But when you have a political party sending out this kind of tweet, oftentimes these Twitter feeds are run by junior staffers,
right,
and they didn't obviously understand the gravity of the situation, and it just boggles the mind how that was even able to get out there.
Well,
who's running the ship?
Clearly, it was poor judgment. But you know what? I thought it was interesting that we've talked to some veterans today, and I admitted that I wasn't aware that there was an act signed, created in Congress back in 2000 for all of us to recognize at 3 o'clock, to take a moment of silence to recognize our veterans who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Many of our vets aren't aware of that. And the whole reason why that act was even created is because they recognize that many of the people around the country were doing just that, having ice cream cones, having barbecues, and not going around the country and putting flowers on the gravesites of some of these soldiers.
And again, we're showing the remembrances from today. This is the World War II memorial on the National Mall, which is not far from the Vietnam War Memorial, which is also right there. And to go there, even when it's not Memorial Day, to spend a few moments at these two locations reminds us of a lot of the sacrifices that have been made in those two conflicts. And then we've been playing this clip that the Steve Malzberg show first aired on Friday, going all the way back to World War I and World War II. And we heard Ron Capps from the Veterans Writing Project talking about even the Americans who died during the Civil War.
Right.
This day is to remember all their sacrifices, not just those who lost their lives more recently. But we got to just really put into perspective what this day is all about.
We do. We do, and hopefully we're doing that for all of you at home by showing you some of the events that are going around the country. And let's not lose sight that President Obama did lay a wreath.
Yes.
And I think it was poor judgment. I do think he does recognize some of the sacrifices.
Well, this is not his Twitter handle, of course. This is the one belonging to the Democratic Party, but it makes you scratch your head. And we talked about that Lang moment. I've been having trouble with that combination of words all day. But President Obama also shaking a veteran's hand there at the memorial, Bob Dole, which was a touching moment to see.
Yeah, and I actually went to the Bob Dole School of Journalism. Like the building was called the Bob Dole Building. Pretty cool, huh?
Pretty cool stuff.
I think it's pretty cool.
More to come here on this Memorial Day edition of Newsmax Now. John Bachman, Miranda Khan will be back with more right after this short commercial break.